What's up, family? This is the Damien Jones podcast. I'm your host, Damien Jones. What's on Damien's mind this morning? God bless you. I hope that you are well. I hope that you are blessed, and I hope that you are safe. I want to talk about, let me do my preacher thing this morning. I want to tag this text. I like that. I like that. I want to tag this text. My topic is: should Joe Biden end his campaign? Should Joe Biden end his presidential campaign? Make sure you like this broadcast and share this broadcast wherever you're watching, YouTube, X, Facebook, what have you. Make sure you like and share. Subscribe right now. Subscribe right now because this is election season, and until November 5th or 6th, I'm coming with straight up heat on this topic. Heat, for the most part, from an objective standpoint, but I lean right from a conservative standpoint. So we bring in heat, and we're going to tell the flat out truth about what we're seeing out here, particularly, when it comes to Joe Biden's campaign, when it comes to Donald Trump's campaign, when it comes to voter engagement, when it comes to all things related to this political season, and we'll talk about social issues as well. And I'll throw some sports in there as well. But what's going on with Joe Biden's campaign? What's going on with it? Here's what I have for you. I have a Bible verse. I have some scripture for you this morning because I wanted to set the tone for this conversation. Make sure you also take a look at the CashApp down at the bottom, RevDamienJones CashApp. Make sure you send us a love offering, a blessing for giving you this high quality information. Listen, I know a lot. I've done a lot. I got a lot of knowledge on this topic. You're hearing from one of the best experts in the industry. But here's this Bible verse right here. It's John, the 8th chapter, and the 32nd verse. You may know this verse. May be a familiar passage of scripture for you. You know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Let me say that one more time. You know the truth, my friends, and the truth shall set you free. What is he talking about? The truth. It's very important when you are a political figure to have truthful people around you. It's very important that your staff is truthful with you. Several years ago, I was staffing a very prominent, very famous member of Congress, and riding around with this person. I had just met the person, so I was just doing kind of just a in the moment staffing situation, but they had their regular staff with them. And although this was a hot summer day, this person was musty. They were absolute. You think about it, smelling somebody that's musty on a hot summer day, and the staff did not. I'm driving the car. I can smell the person. So the other 3 staff persons could also, I'm sure, smell the person. They didn't say a word. They didn't say, hey, can we stop by CVS, Walgreens? They weren't subliminal with it. They didn't say a word. And so we drove around all day going to event, musty congressperson. You got to have truthful people around you. You got to have folks that are going to tell you the truth, not yes people. It's important in life as well. It's now painstakingly clear to insiders. Insiders have known this, but also outsiders, regular everyday people who are just paying their bills, taking care of their family. Joe Biden does not have truthful people around him. He does not have truthful people around him. My assumption is that his lovely wife means well, but at some level she's probably not being truthful with him. Hunter Biden, I don't think he's telling the truth about anything. I think he's looking out for his own interests. So I don't think he's truthful. It's proven that he's not truthful about things. Chief of staff, other staff members that are around him in the Oval Office, They're not being truthful. And I know sometimes as a staffer, you want to keep your job. You don't want to be too harsh. You want to just say, yes, sir, yes, sir. But at some point, you got to tell the truth because we're dealing with American lives. 300 million Americans are under the purview of Joe Biden. And what we have seen clearly from Joe Biden via reports, via interviews, via speeches from I'll just speak from the last 2 or 3 weeks. We found out that Joe Biden only is only awake 6 hours a day. We find that he's now blaming a cold and jet lag, 2-week jet lag on his debate performance. Although his press secretary said he didn't take any cold medicine for a cold, and then he went to Waffle House after the debate and was hugging and kissing people. 81-year-old man with a cold, no mask on, but hugging and kissing people. Weird. We understand that his slurring and his stuttering and his ability to remember, we're seeing from reports that he doesn't remember names. People that are listen, my grandmother died in 2014, and she was in hospice the last time I saw her, and she was not herself, and she did not remember me at all. And I looked at her and I said to myself, I say, my granny is not going to make it another 6 months. And she died 3 months later. She wasn't remembering anything. Didn't remember names. This is scary because Joe Biden is exhibiting some of the same symptoms right now. But the campaign, the White House staff are saying, the vice president are saying he's fine. He has lots of vigor and vitality. He's sharper than most of us. His health is better than most of us. And it's like, when are you guys going to tell the truth? You're flat out lying to us. You're flat out lying to people at this point. Like, we understand he's 81 years old. We can understand that at some point his health is going to decline and decay. We understand that. Just tell the truth. Hey, it's not going like how we imagined. He doesn't have the rigor to do this job at a high level. We're going to find other alternatives. But they keep lying about it, right? We also know that Obama never wanted Biden to run for president. We know this. He was against it for various reasons, particularly the reason that we're seeing now, the age issue, right? But Biden went on and did it anyway. But here's the thing. Democrats talk about saving democracy, preserving democracy. Democracy is the soul of the nation. There's nothing more small d democratic than having open primary debates. Because I believe that everybody should earn their spot. So be incumbent or not, there are always going to be new challengers to your seat, right? Which you don't own. So Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, and whomever else should have had an opportunity to debate Joe Biden. The same way there were Democratic debates in 2020, the same way there were Republican debates this year. Why didn't the Democrats have primary debates? If Joe Biden is just this great leader, most popular ever, then he would just smash them in debate, I would assume, correct? But they were hiding something from us. Because if you did the Democratic debates, you would have been able to see these cognitive issues in March, in February, and then you would have had time to fix it. You would have had time to fix it. But instead, you decided to sweep things under the rug. You decided to cover it up. And now the longer you kick an issue down the road, you got to deal with it at some point. And here we are in July, and Democrats are losing their mind because they don't know, honestly, who their nominee is going to be, because their presumptive nominee doesn't remember where he is from day to day. Damien Jones podcast. Make sure you like and share this broadcast. So here's, I got a couple questions for you. As we remember the text, the truth shall set you free. Can he be replaced? Now let's talk about that. Can he actually be replaced? So many people I'm seeing, before I came on to record this, there are 5 House Democrats now on the record, open public, asking Joe Biden to step aside. Mark Warner in the Senate is now building a coalition to have Joe Biden step aside. They want him gone. Right? But can he actually be replaced? This is the question that we really need to look at from a logistics standpoint. Is it actually feasible? And so I read this very extensive and very thoughtful and informative and educational tweet the other night. Excuse me. And it walked through all of the different scenarios and variations and factors that play into having Joe Biden step aside. Here are the several things. One, there are a lot of states that have already started the process, if not finalizing their ballots for November. States have different deadlines in terms of when they finalize their ballots and start printing ballots. So if there's a state that's already printed ballots, then they're not going back. That's going to make it very tough, because that's going to cost more money to now print out new ballots when Joe Biden was the presumptive nominee. You also got to think about the money. What happens with the money? And I think what I just saw, the Biden campaign has about $250 million cash on hand as of the end of June. What do they do with that money? If Biden steps aside and there's a new nominee, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer, whomever it may be, people gave to Joe Biden. Do you now give the money back, or do you transfer it to the new nominee? A lot of questions there. What happens with that $250 million, along with the PACs that are out there as well? Staff. What about the staff? There's so many staff members that are on payroll for the Biden campaign, all from state to state at their headquarters. They're working hard, doing their best. You know, I won't disparage them in the work that they're trying to do. But if Biden steps aside, what happens to all that staff? If you got 200 staff members, all 200 probably don't believe in Gavin Newsom. Maybe they don't believe in Kamala Harris. Maybe they don't believe in Gretchen Whitmer. Then they got to go find a new job somewhere, right? And then maybe the new campaign may not want some of those staff. They want to bring in their own people that they know and trust and have worked with over the years. So you got a lot of staff movement happening. And here we are 4 months away from the election. This is the time normally where everything is set, and now you start your ad blitzes on television. You start your GOTV efforts, which is get out the vote in different communities. You also start your direct mail campaigns as well. But that's not the case for the Biden campaign, because they're trying to figure out with their convention 2 weeks from now, who's the nominee? I mean, this thing is a mess. But who's the replacement? Who's the replacement? Who replaces Biden if he steps aside? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it the vice president? Like, normally you would figure we chose this vice president. If something happens, we feel great about her ability, his or her ability to lead the nation. But for the first time in my lifetime, and I've been watching politics. I think Clinton was the first president I remember. I was in second grade when he got inaugurated, and they made us watch it in the library. So I remember that. So you had Clinton and Gore. Then you got Bush, Cheney. Then you got Obama, Biden. Then you got what's his name? Trump, Pence, right? Pence, Biden, Cheney, Gore. All those guys, for the most part, Cheney being the weakest, I believe, could run the country. I mean, Cheney essentially was running the country. He's just not a people person, not much of a speaker. But all those folks could run the country. And I think the American people felt, for the most part, good about that. I don't know why Kamala Harris was chosen as vice president. because it wasn't because of her performance in the Senate. It wasn't because of her ability to build coalitions. It wasn't because her campaign did so well. Her campaign folded because of disarray within the campaign. Her, as reports say, her inability to lead the campaign, a lot of special interests and family involved in there. It was a mess. She could not win her own state of California. I remember when I worked in DC years ago, and when Kamala kind of came on the national scene, and she came to when she was running for Senate, I believe. And a friend of mine went to an event with her, and she was the talk of the town at that point, right? And my friend came from the event and told me, and said, "I'm not impressed." Like, listen, this was about 2014, 15, 16, somewhere in that time frame. They said, "I'm not impressed with her." And I was like, okay, whatever, you know, I wasn't there. But here we are 10 years later, I see. And I think a lot of Americans feel the same. I'm not impressed with her, right? We've seen 3.5 years of cackling, of babbling, of repeating ourselves, unburdened by what can be, not serious about the border. She's the border czar, but hasn't been to the border. They sent her over to a international summit, and 3 days later, Putin invaded Ukraine. So she's not strong on national security. She can't deliver a message. She's not good with coalitions outside of the Divine Nine. So I'm like, could she actually be the nominee? And a lot of people don't feel comfortable with it. And I think that's why Joe is holding on so long. I don't think he feels comfortable either. Right? Could it be Gavin Newsom? No, Gavin and Kamala kind of coming from the same California. Gavin is an opportunist. He wants to take advantage of his moment. I knew months ago, a year ago, that he was going to try to run for president. Anybody with eyes could see it. I think he's a worse candidate than Joe Biden. Because he's currently a governor who has debt issues in his state. He's trying to use this carrot of reparations to Black people in California, which is going to run up their debt, and most of Americans don't support reparations. He also is exacerbating the illegal immigration problem in a great way. And so just off that record alone, and then how he handled COVID, I mean, millions and millions of people moved from California during COVID. They moved to Texas, they moved to Florida. They just said, "Get me the hell out of California." Right? And so his record is awful. I mean, you could talk about Gretchen Whitmer. She said she's out of the running. So those two really would be the folks that are up for grabs. Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom. Now, there's a Black woman delegate out of California who went on the Stephen A. Smith show the other day, and she said, if you skip over Kamala Harris, then Black women are going to blow the party up. We see it as disrespectful. We're going to blow the party up, she said. There's a lot of turmoil. Who's going to be the VP? But here's it, and I'll say this last thing, and I'll get out of here as I close. Preacher, 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 preacher. Hit that Cash App. Hit that Cash App. Preacher, hit that Cash App. Here's your text. Tell the truth. Now, here's the way I see it, friends. The Biden campaign is reminding me of the LA Lakers. The Biden campaign is reminding me of the LA Lakers. And listen, I'm a big Laker fan. I love Kobe. I can't stand LeBron. And guess what? Can't stand Joe Biden either. But I think there's a parallel between the Biden campaign, the White House, and the Lakers. What do you mean, Damien? These great storied organizations, White House, LA Lakers, that have a history of greatness and opulence and excellence, Lakers, White House. And I'm speaking about the White House in a general sense, not just one administration, but the White House in general. They have decided to hitch their wagon to once popular maybe once, on top of their game, but now an old relic. LeBron James is on the downside of his career. Joe Biden is clearly on the downside of his career. But their organizations will not tell the truth. We see nepotism with Hunter Biden in the White House and those issues. We see nepotism on the side of the Lakers and Bronny James. Nobody in those organizations want to tell the truth, and they're going to have their ship sink with an old relic that's past their prime and should step aside, and nobody will tell the truth. And the old relic, Biden, LeBron James, doesn't have enough situational and personal awareness to say it's bigger than me, I need to leave. But because they just want to think about themselves, they're going to sink the ship. Joe Biden is going to sink the ship of the Democratic Party. Joe Biden has already sank the ship of the American economy, of the American border, of the American conscience, of trust and confidence of the American people. It's gone. He should step aside today. I don't know who his replacement is going to be. They need to figure that out. Should have had primaries. They would have had this figured out. But it is my submission, it is my assertion that Joseph Robinette Biden, and listen, I give him credit, 50 years of service. I disagree with the things that he did within those 50 years, but hey, he served. It's time to go, Joe. Enjoy your last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years with your family in peace. America deserves better than what you can offer. Until next time, God bless you. This is the Damien Jones Podcast.